Hello there, welcome back to the Agostinho Zinga show with me, your host Agostinho Zinga, and this is episode number 305. 305. How you doing? How you feeling? Good to know. Glad. I'm happy. How am I? So like I've said in previous episodes, I've got my little routine down, a kind of plan, schedule that I'm sort of doing day in, day out to make sure that I'm sane, and that's been helping quite a lot. Make sure I do some sort of exercise in the morning. If I don't get that in the morning, then I do it the next day. Try not to go out after 12 or whatever, because the streets seem to be packed with people. Try and read something, watch a couple of movies, right? The standard things that I do during my day, so that when the evening comes, I kind of treat it like a quote unquote finished work, which seems to work really well, I think, for the moment. I guess the only part of it that would be increased, that would be more beneficial, is that you'd have the ability to kind of go out and roam around like you would do if you were freelancing. You'd probably go to a coffee shop, you might head out to a co-working space, you might go to a park and do some shit there, whatever. That's the only bit that's missing. But the day-to-day has not been that bad. I think I've not suffered as much as other people have suffered, quite evidently. Some of the accounts I've been reading of people that have been really, really struggling, especially the ones that are more used to having a big group of people around and all that sort of stuff. But it is what it is. It's our new reality, and we have to just deal with it how we can deal with it. But the weather's been nice. That's quite good, isn't it? I guess even if you're not outside, the weather's been quite cool, especially in London. Like you know how shitty the weather can be here in the UK. So having a nice bit of sun peeking through as you're sitting down, contemplating what to watch on Netflix can kind of help, I think, to some extent. I'm not too sure if it does, but if it doesn't, what can you do? What else has been happening? Any new developments? I think we heard, is it German? No, we heard from the Football League they've cancelled, right? The Football League is completely null and void, so it looks like the Premier League will have to make a decision sooner rather than later about what they want to do. A lot of you hear a lot of commentary about clubs, in it. A lot of the Premier League clubs are talking about, because I think I might have a sheet. Let me see if I can get up. You hear a lot of the Premier League clubs saying they want to do this, they want to do that, but you don't really hear much about the players, do you? Right? So it's the National Football League. The players haven't really spoken or said anything so far, and I've got a strange feeling that the Premier League clubs are going to be very surprised. Football League, I see. I think the Premier League are going to be very surprised when they find out a lot of these players are not going to be up for doing it. Ready to return, really? Who says that? By May 9th, okay? Let's read this one. So, this is from BBC. I just read this now. It just kind of popped up. So, this is from BBC Sport. And it said the Bundesliga is ready to return on May 9th, supposedly. Let's zoom in a little bit to read this. So, Bundesliga ready to return, says German Football League. Despite football being halted across the globe by the coronavirus pandemic, with all major leagues and competitions suspended, the Bundesliga is now eager to return to action, with plans to play a spectre-free games in May. Germany has led the way in its approach to combating the coronavirus pandemic. The country's intense program of consistent testing from early has resulted in far fewer deaths than the worst affected countries, which is definitely credit to them. I don't think we're going to get that here, judging by the people I've seen outside. That's not going to happen, especially not in May. Maybe later on, but that's pretty cool. So the German Football League, the DFL, responsible for operating the Bundesliga and the second division, is determined to finish the current season. Its 36 professional teams met on Thursday to discuss the restart the season next month. However, Germany's football authorities still face some huge questions before they get the green light to resume football in a country behind closed doors. He said, if we start on May 9th, we're ready. If it's later, we'll be ready again, says DFL Chief Executive Christian Seifter said on Thursday. For us, what is decisive is what the politician will decide. It's not for us to decide when. Okay, that's fair. So I guess the leagues are ready. So they've got systems and protocols. I guess you'd have to present a case, because no government wants to be responsible for making sure matches go on, and they've got other things to worry about, right? So if you're the Football League, you want to make sure you have protocols and processes and testing and tracing in place, so that once you get the green light from the government, you can just go and just do that, right? And then if you need some oversight from government officials, you can have it, but the actual functionality of making sure things take over is there. I wonder how they're going to do it in stadiums. Let's read on. For us, what is decisive? The games without spectators are not what we want, says this official, but at the moment, the only thing that seems feasible, which is definitely true, if you've seen what everyone's saying, I think In order to have people in stadiums, you're going to need some sort of vaccine, right, or some sort of antibody, or some kind of treatment you can get at the stadium, I reckon, right? Some kind of like shot that you'd be able to get straight away if you are going to have everyone together in one big group. And I guess just from a liability point of view, it's probably beneficial to have the games go, have the ability to maybe stream the games, have people pay for them, some revenues coming in that way, be able to finish them, be able to maybe have the prospect of having your cup games continue as per usual, then have the possibility of people being in stadium and being ill. I definitely get that. So what challenges do they face and how are they going to plan for it? What will government say? The German politicians have recently decided that large events with crowds will be banned until October 24th. That rules out the Bundesliga being played in front of spectators until the scheduled start of the season, of next season. Okay, so I guess anyone planning to go to Berlin will know that, up after probably the prospect is probably, I guess, November, maybe December. Maybe you'll have a chance to go to a New Year's Eve party there if you want to do that, I reckon. But nothing before then. The only way to work around the regulations is to stage spectator-free games with only players, coaching staff, medics, referees, ball boys and ball girls, ground staff, technicians, safety officers, production team and VAR being present. That's a lot of people though, isn't it? That's so risky, man. That's a lot of people. League officials estimate that for up to 300 people are needed per match. Okay, that's some core numbers. In Germany, the 16 federal states determine the maximum number of people allowed for public gatherings. The government could also put a stop to any plans from the DFL, but they are aware that the economic struggles of professional football and are expected to grant the wishes. I guess it's not more so economic struggles of football, it's economic struggles of the country too, isn't it? I'm assuming if the football comes back, that will then allow other industries to come back, which will then allow the country to make some money again, innit? Because you don't want to get to a point where you have to print money to offset the lack of money being made by your citizens. The governments could put, so a weekend of football is much more bearable than a weekend without it. That's why I could picture to have matches behind closed doors, says Marcus, so the state premier of Bavaria said in a recent, but that's just your opinion. He and Armin Laschet, state premier of the Northern Rhine-Westphalia, whatever that word is, have said they think it's conceivable that Bundesliga would restart May 9th. So this is all just hypotheses, really. 20,000 tests required. Jesus Christ. Staging a professional football game, even with only a few hundred people, presents become a logistical challenge. A few weeks ago, the DFL set up a task force to define necessary medical hygiene protocols. It's good to see this because it's actually definite numbers that we can get an idea on what is needed. It says, according to plans of the task force, the stadiums will be divided into 3 zones. Only a maximum of 100 people can be in each of these sections. The inner sections belong to 22 players, 18 bench staff and 5 referees, and around 53 others. The stands are considered the second section, and the area directly surrounding the stadium is a third. The plans also include regular testing of players, coaches between training sessions and before every match. Alexander Kukli, the biochemist from Martin Luther University in Halle, estimates that the DFL would need up to 20,000 detection tests and exceptional organizational measures. There's so many. Sometimes you think, what is the point in it? If you have to go through all of this just to put some matches on behind closed doors, what's the point? You might as well just wait until everything gets sorted out, because there's so many points of, there's so many points of error there, from the ground staff to the people inside the stadium to just, I don't know, wind and shit. Like, how can you mitigate for all those scenarios? It's just impossible, isn't it, really? But maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a way of testing people. Because would you be able to do a controlled study or test for people, that many people at once? Could you do that in the stadium, like 300 people, and make sure? I don't know. It said players have to be shielded but under specific safety rules to prevent infections because they're not able to avoid contact on the pitch. Imagine what the sponsors are going to say. Imagine what Adidas and Nike are going to say when you put one of their star athletes at danger like this. They're not going to have it, are they? This is the thing I'm really confused about. I think the leagues are kind of overestimating how much people actually, because there must be a group of footballers out there who are like, you know what, I'm actually enjoying this time I get to spend with my children, right? Because they're training every day, they're away, they're playing games and shit. They're just in a whole different mindset. So I guess their ability to kind of turn off and be a dad, right, or be a boyfriend or be a brother or whatever, is probably pretty cool, isn't it? So I'd imagine most of them are enjoying it. They've probably been reading and watching a lot of news like we have, and they're probably worried. So they're probably got a lot of information in terms of what's going on. They know that, there's no vaccine in sight just yet. So to require them to get back into playing football and going back to competitive mode is going to take a lot, isn't it? And they're going to have to get fit too. That's the thing. They've all been training at home, but, training at home, doing home workouts is all right for us, me and you, regular civilians. But if you're a professional athlete, that's not going to be enough. You need to be training with your fellow teammates so they can push you. You need to be under the supervision of coaches, playing against opposing players. That's where the whole term match fitness comes up, because you don't get match fitness from running laps in the park. You get it from playing actual games. Your mind gets stressed in a different way. Your body gets pushed in a different way. The pressure of the crowd is different too. That's another thing too. You have to count how different the games are when the crowd is not there. It affects greatly the score or sometimes the performances of teams, right? That's why they say some stadiums, the actual stadium sucks the ball into the net because they're so on top of you. So what happens there? There's a lot in there. Club facing insolvency, it's another one. While political backlash and criticism from the influential fan groups is inevitable, various club officials have indicated that they want to go ahead with the current plans. They argue that the continuation of the season, even without spectators in the stands, is the only way to guarantee the immediate survival of the German football industry. Bloody hell, man. So much is in the balance, isn't it? They literally have to put these games on behind closed doors. If they don't, the future of the clubs is uncertain, because as we're seeing with most businesses in a really layman's term, they require an exchange of money or foot flow or sales to survive. No one's really got a business, not really the big ones, that don't require on people, right? You need people to make your business survive, whether it's employees or whether it's people that actually purchasing your product or services. Without them, you're finished. And I guess most teams, especially the ones that aren't worldwide brands, they rely so much on gate receipts, because they have an ability to make, let's say, upwards of $1 million or £1 million every time they play a game of football. So that could mean in the Premier League, that could mean official league games, that could mean friendlies, that could mean when they go on a world tour. Anything that involves them kicking the ball on the pitch, they can monetize. So when you take that away, what do they have in it? So they effectively need to kind of restart it, because not only the clubs might go out of business, but the actual league might go out of business. It continues here. However, the main television rights holders, Sky, Eurosport and public broadcaster ARD and ZDF, have not paid their installment of a total of €340 million. The remaining 9 match days equal exactly a quarter of a season worth for the 4th installment. Jesus, so they're withholding their installment as well. This is dicey. The payment to the DFL was never initially scheduled for the 10th of April. The DFL has now reached an agreement with Sky, ARD, ZDF about 2nd of May being the new date of payment. Shortly after the restart of the season, it gets to go ahead. So they have to do it, essentially. I'm guessing if they agree that deal, then it's probably going to be done. Here's a video of some Bayern Munich players returning to training on Monday, despite Germany during lockdown. So I guess they're training in 2, isn't it, right? Hans Flick groups in 5, okay, but without any contact. Germany's top flight has been suspended since the 13th of March. But again, this is in the country where they're doing everything right, innit? People are staying indoors, they're testing a lot. There's probably a lot of tracing, a lot of tracking. Bloody hell. Players keep distance in training as well, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, let's see what happens there. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a revolt from the players too, where they might be like, you know what, I don't want to do this because I actually enjoy spending time with my family. That might actually be a thing. But we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that's interesting to say the least, man. Bundesliga is meant to come back on the 9th of May, so let's see. Boom, boom, boom. Let's move on. What else we have here on the list I wanted to talk about? Actually, yeah. Did you see that video of these parents arguing with the police officer in the park about when their kids are going? I went to quickly see, so I haven't actually watched it or seen what they're talking about, but maybe we can watch it and devise what's going on. But I'm not one to, I don't know, man. I try not to judge in these situations again, because you just don't know what people's realities are like. And I can only imagine what it must be like having a kid at home now during this lockdown. It must be horrendous for the parents and for the child itself. And most of the reason why you because I remember thinking now, when you're older, you're like, oh, fuck school, waste of time. But when you're younger, school was everything, innit? Hanging out with your friends, chatting shit, playing, getting, falling on the floor, getting bruised, getting your packed lunch, eating your friends, whatever, innit? Like, ODing on fucking ice cream and whatever. And then when you take that away from a kid and he has to stay indoors with their parents, that must be super boring. And again, especially for the parents who don't necessarily stay at home during the day with their kids either, you have a nanny or whatever. So you usually get your kid, because I imagine when you get your kid after school, it's a different type of child, isn't it? Because he's probably tired, he's all full, he's covered in sugar and mess, whatever. So you're getting a different kid than what you'd get when you're staying with them the whole day. They're super hyperactive, bouncing off the walls. So I can imagine what that person's like. So you're like, you know what, you're driving me mad, I just have to get you outside. And you go outside and suddenly your park is completely gated off and it's been all taped up and shit. And then you have the added thing as well, is like every state has had a different reaction or a different protocol when it comes to the pandemic, and everyone's dealing with it differently, and the effects have been different too. So you are within your right, if you're a citizen, you are within your right to ask questions of your governor and be like, hey, look at the statistics. The people in this state are under a certain age. We've only got this amount of fatalities. Why don't we do something different? Because I think that's something that they're missing in America. They haven't done. There could be a real opportunity for each state to have a different approach to the lockdown. Maybe some places don't do it and they adopt maybe more of a Swedish model where people social distance and people are encouraged not to go out. But if they do, they have to not keeping big groups, new protocols in terms of cleaning and shit. There could be interesting approaches that they could use. But instead, when you just blanket lockdown, especially, in America where there's, very varying levels of acceptance of any kind of state control or governance control, right? They hate all that shit. They fight. They're intrinsically against it. It's part of their amendment. Then I can understand we have these positions, or you have these situations where suddenly, there's these weird positions. There's weird situations where a police officer is arresting a mum in a park for taking a kid out. On paper, that just looks really, really, really ridiculous. But let's see what exactly happened on this video here, and I'll play it for you guys. You can hear it in the background, hopefully.
Yeah. I guess all this tape, like on that statue, was on all this stuff, and I guess people tore it off. So I'm sorry. I wish you could stay and play.
And already he's in a bad position, isn't it? Because who wants to be that police officer that's going and telling a mum that she can't let her kids go in the park? Who wants to do that? It's a thankless task. And, the mum's in her right to take a kid out. The police officer's in the right too to arrest them because he's not meant to be there. But freedom of freedom of choice, freedom of speech, freedom of movement. How can you really restrict people from going outside? You can't necessarily do it. You can encourage them not to go out, and you can maybe encourage them by maybe closing bars and whatever they may be. But as we've seen in the UK, that hasn't done anything really. They've closed all the bars and restaurants, and people are still wandering around. So there's just no way of locking people inside their homes unless everybody has, let's say 1 in or 5 in 10 people have somebody they know who passed away from it. That's when you can maybe get some kind of compliance, because everyone's got somebody they know that's passed away. But until then,
some angry kids, I can get it. Hi guys. So I'm sorry. Hopefully this thing will open up soon. Okay, you guys have any questions?
Well, it's a public park, so I
this is where the end of the video goes a bit wrong, because normally in these videos, usually the police officers are quite antagonistic, right? They're already coming up ready for a confrontation. This guy started very respectful. He said, look, I'm sorry I have to do this and tell you to leave, but it is what it is, it's the rules. And then immediately when you get the opportunity to kind of have some civil discourse, the mum is straight away with a backup. And I think as well with these kind of public confrontations, whenever you see somebody recording a conversation midway through, it's always a sign that something is fishy here. Like when they feel like they're losing the argument, they pull out their phone just to kind of document something to make them look better than what they actually are. Because I don't think he's done anything wrong here. He's just approached them in a respectful way. And now suddenly, when the lady gets, or the mum gets a chance to reply, she immediately wants to be like, oh, but it's my, you're free to come here. It's a park, it's a public space. It's like, we know it's a public space, darling. Just, we're living in weird times. Can you just, give me some kind of slack? Can you just do me a favor and go home? Do you know what I mean?
do wonder why it's being closed when it's a public park. I mean, we're not breaking a law.
The city closed it, and the city can close the park at any time.
Under what grounds? Under what grounds can they just come in and...
The city code says they can.
But we have to
With the
still pay
city-
taxes, right? I mean, we're paying taxes down. We don't get a refund on the parks we're
I am
paying
not the
for.
one to argue with. The one to argue with, if you don't like it, is the mayor.
A refund in the park, imagine. Obviously, the guy's response is a bit weird. It goes contact the mayor, but imagine saying, oh, we pay in taxes and we're going to get a refund for it being closed. No, you're not. Why would you think you would get a refund anyway?
Or the parks director. I'm just a law enforcement officer, and I've been asked to come here and make sure everyone moves.
Right, you're the line of enforcement on an order that, quite frankly, is unconstitutional.
Okay, that's something to take up with the mayor and the parks director.
But you're enforcing it right now.
Yeah,
That's your choice, right?
I could enforce it. I could charge people, but I don't want to do that.
Have you done
Yeah.
that? Have you
I
done
have
that at any
not.
point?
I have not.
Okay.
I
Let's fast forward a bit.
But
Of the
you gotta-
I
charge.
tell you exactly what you can and can't do. I will tell you the playground is closed. We told you that. Okay?
It must. How difficult must it be to be a police officer in the United States, right? The amount of back chat you get from residents is weird too, because in the UK we don't even have police officers that have guns, right? They just have batons and shit, or pepper spray. But these guys have police officers with guns, and they still give them back chat. Like, it's just immense. And they, we've got how many videos you need to see of somebody, and again, they're human beings just like you and I. They're gonna have bad days and good days. So imagine wanting to roll the dice with somebody that has a bit of power, that has authority, that has a fucking weapon, a deadly weapon on their waist. Well, you just want to like shut up and go home, especially if it's such a frivolous issue like this. There are times you have to stand up for yourself, but is this really what the hill you want to die on? Taking your little spotty kid to a park?
Where are you talking to this gentleman?
Well, man,
Well, he's not for like so he might be the park director though, but he's not going to cite us and he's not going to arrest us. And he's
but
not
he
going
can
to
ask me to
charge.
cite or arrest you.
Okay, so what would he be citing us for?
Trespassing.
On the public playground
Public
that we pay for.
But we have the right to peaceably assemble.
Yeah, closed by the mayor's and director's order.
So it's up to you if you decide you would like to press charges or. Gotcha.
Okay, still going.
No, we're just moms.
Continue.
In Costco or anywhere else, places are open with social distancing.
Gotcha thing, isn't
No, we have rights. No, we're just tired of this.
So all of you just showed up on
We showed up here so we could let our kids play and.
And it's also just like it's just like I guess this is what the international dark web guys talk about, especially Eric Weinstein. Like, we don't have any shared narratives in it. There's no like collective reality. We're all living in our own version of reality. Everyone's got their own simulation running at exactly the same time, but we've all got unlimited RAM, so no one's computer's buffering. Because if your computer buffers, you know exactly what the issue is, and that you got to close some tabs and you got to restart it. But when your computer's running the same way and nothing's happening and everyone else has the same thing, you don't realize it's an issue. There's no shared narrative that you can kind of both explore. And this is what's happening in the States. They're all so geeked out, they're all so skeptical, they're all so cynical, that there's no way that they can understand, the bigger picture. It's just all about you and your own thing, right? So it's just like, I have to get my little Johnny in the park. He needs to play. He's feeling anxious. It's like, yeah, we know. So is every other kid in the whole entire world. Do you know what I mean? It's not just you're going through this, but they're so fucking lasered in their own narrative. They're unable to see the bigger picture. So imagine arguing with this kind of person, trying to walk them down. It's just impossible. It really is. So bloody hell, man. Let's fast forward a
Have a
bit.
play date.
Still arguing. And what makes it worse too, this is like a local park too. It looks like a local community. The guy that's there, he's got like a cap on and a fleece. He just looks like a local dude that happens to run it. Maybe he's the I don't know, the parking attendant, whatever it may be. So everyone knows each other, right? There's like a fairly affluent area. It's, the police officers, the people that work there. So there's some kind of kinship. There should be some level of understanding. It's not like you're in the middle of Manhattan with some random people that they flew in from fucking San Fran. This is people that you've grown up with, people you might have gone to school with or whatever. And there's still no level of civility. There's still no level of kind of like, okay, I get where you're coming from. Let me make your job a little bit easier. Give me 5 minutes or something. I don't know, whatever. Do you know what I mean? Let's compromise. No. It's these Karens just shouting, "Bat, my kid, my kid." So
I saw when I got here, I did.
still shouting.
This is it.
Okay.
Exit the playground area. Now.
This is it.
Because you guys aren't listening. I just told you exit the playground area. It's
But
easy.
we're not trespassing.
This is
Exit.
not.
What did it say?
Do it. Report it.
Okay, this is not.
What?
Arrest me for being in the park. Do it.
So she asked to get recorded. She asked to get arrested, right? Do it.
Report it.
Okay, this is not.
And he
Officer,
obliges.
you don't
Of course. That's
Want
his
to
job.
do that, officer? You don't.
Get arrested. Foundation right now and get them on the phone.
Call now. I'm
Who
recording.
call who?
Detained.
Someone call Idaho Freedom Foundation right now and get them on the phone.
Call now.
Oh, what a donut. She gets arrested, I guess, and now she's what? Are you Malcolm X? Like, honestly, are you Harriet Tubman? Like, this is just insane. So she's fighting the fight, right? She's gonna come out with a shirt, right? Mothers for Parks or some shit. She gets escorted off by the police officers, I'm assuming. But then the other side of it that's really, really funny is that the follow-up video, they actually go outside the police officer's home. They find the person's address, I don't know how, and they're all parked out there trying to have some kind of, I don't know, protest or whatever. Like, Americans are fucking wild, man. Okay, it's up here. Look how many people there is out there. Let's go back there a little bit. Look how many people are outside the house. No one social distancing either. They don't give a flying fuck about that. There's like, what, at least 15 to 20 people out there? That is insane. So they managed to, this is the, because usually when you see these kind of batshit crazy videos, you're like, okay, cool, it's just one person in it, you're like, whatever in it. But they managed to go around their local community, gather other mums and dads, tell them the story, right? Imagine you tell someone the story. I went to the park with my little Johnny and the police officer kicked us out. Your natural reaction would be like, why did they kick you out for? Oh, because the park was closed, but I went there because they need to get a run. And a sensible person would be like, yeah, but the park's closed. But no, these guys actually agreed and were like, oh man, the state's controlling us, fuck this shit, we're gonna go and protest. We're gonna actually let's get the address of the police officer and go and harass his family outside their home. So they've done that. As a community, they've all gathered around this person's house. So now what? Like, you're gonna be throwing fucking devil stares at the mum that has nothing to do with it, right? At the police officer's wife, whatever. It's like, it's insane. Like,
wouldn't you want people to show?
and again, wouldn't you go to the local police station to protest this? Why would you go to the police officer's home? Like, what's the family has? What does his family have to do with anything? Like, wouldn't that make more sense? Because at least at the police office, at the police station, you have the ability to speak to the station manager or whoever they're fucking called, right? You don't have any. There's no recourse. There's no solution you're gonna find out parking outside of his house. If anything, you're just gonna scare whoever kids are in there. And if anything, they're going to make sure that they round up every single one of you because you've essentially, made that person's life hell. And if we know anything about cops in the US, they stick together. If you do one thing to one of them, you've done it to everybody else. You're not going to get away with any fans here.
Support it? Yep.
And the guys are playing basketball 10 times right next to us, passing the same ball back and forth. As long as it's peaceful protest.
It's 100% peaceful.
Right, they're protesting someone's.
We do want to make sure that Meridian Police Department, you guys understand that if you guys treat us respectfully, obviously we treat you respectfully.
Of course. Like, why is he saying about respect? Like, it's like, what? Like, honestly, this is just insane. It really is.
Yeah.
I'm the guy that spoke to the gentleman on shift.
I understand that.
It's funny because
Innocent and law-abiding citizens of Idaho do not take kindly to our rights being stripped away from us, just like you guys would.
Just imagine, man, what happens when somebody lets off one. That's the thing, and it only takes one person to fire off a shot for it just to go all to hell, and then you suddenly got parents like in a firefight with the police officers. No one wins. It is literally the most insane thing I've seen in my life. Like, again, that lack of shared narrative is just insane, really, isn't it? So, if you're in London and you are thinking of taking the piss out of people going in the park somewhere, spare a thought for this one. At least we're not having face off with police officers in front of their homes, with people wearing cowboy hats. He's strapped for real. There's this guy here in a cowboy hat somewhere along here who looks like he definitely got a full arsenal of weapons somewhere in his house.
Children
You know what?
park out
That
in the
whole
open
Costco
air.
thing, I totally get.
Yeah, well, I mean, Costco, Walmart, Albertsons, so on and so forth. I mean, it's really.
I love the glee that this mum has in the front when she's recording. Why do these Karens have such kind of like they get so giddy when they have their smartphone and they're recording as if they're gonna capture, I don't know, as if this is like the defining proof. We all have phones. We all know what's going on here. It's no big deal. Look how happy she is in the front.
That whole Costco thing, I totally get.
Look, smiling from ear to ear.
Well, I mean, Costco,
I'm gonna
Walmart,
get you.
Albertsons, so on and so forth. I mean, it's really honestly ridiculous.
the bottom line is
I'm as frustrated.
You can
Wondering
see this.
what the word unalienable means. What does unalienable mean?
You will not go into parks and arrest people. You will not go into parks and arrest mothers, or you will not go anywhere and arrest us for exercising what our rights are. You do not have that right. We have...
They kind of do though, innit? The same way you have the right to protest, they have the right to close the parks and tell you can't go in them. This is the problem they're having, innit? Everyone's got rights, but no one's willing to compromise. No one's willing to meet anyone in the middle. So there's going to be an impasse here. They're not going to ever agree. But if you have a right to protest and stand outside this house, they have the right to tell you to fuck off. It is what it is, isn't it? Really, isn't it? But yeah, it just continues on. But that was a fucking wild story, man. Absolutely wild. And it won't end probably well for those guys, but you know, that is the bed they choose to lie on. Anyway, continuing on here, we have a really cool interview with Matty Matheson from Vice that dropped on Hypebeast that I thought was fairly interesting and very illuminating. I've been a fan of his for a while, actually, based on the shows on Vice mostly. I think the first one I stumbled upon was maybe the video he had where he just made his cheeseburger from back in the day. I remember that being pretty cool, because I remember that was the first time I found out that you can actually make a beef patty or burger patty without having a binder or anything in it. He just said you have to make sure you have to get a good cut of meat, grind it yourself, make sure you don't trim the fat. I still remember it from now on, actually, which is quite funny. But I remember seeing that, and then, you know, he went on to do other little shows and stuff, and just, you know, it came across really cool. It was sort of like a punk rock version of maybe Anthony Bourdain, right? A little bit more loose with his profanities, but just generally like a solid dude. And you know, in the age of like pretentious cook show hosts or cooking program hosts, he kind of was really somebody that I really connected with. And I like the quote he's got here at the bottom of the Hypebeast. This is the Hypebeast feature. It says, "Food is imperfect, fucked up, and real." He speaks about his experience, you know, pivoting away from being just a quintessential chef, and now he's like an all-encompassing kind of media personality, which I thought was really interesting as well. In the beginning, he mentions like, how he had there was a moment where his restaurant partners were like questioning how many time you were spending away from the restaurant, and that kind of led to him having to decide what to do next. And I guess it must be quite scary. Because, you know, I'd imagine being a chef is similar to being like a bartender, right? Once you do that your whole life, you kind of have to just keep doing that, right? You don't really have time to pivot to something else unless you do like evening courses. So you kind of get, I don't want to say stuck in a loop, but you've sort of like decided what area you want to kind of work in, what kind of interest you want to, what kind of area of, you know, industry you want to work in. So it's hard to kind of then pivot to do something else because you feel as if like if you do and you go away, you won't necessarily have a job to come back to. So to decide to finally go and become like, you know, an actual TV personality must have took a lot of guts. So definitely credit to him for that one. But I thought this answer here was really cool regarding a question when it comes up to messing up. And it says with food. So yeah, this bit here. It says everyone fucks with you because you're so real. Why is it so important for you to show the real side of cooking? He said, even if you took the best fucking chef at home, 8% of the time he's going to make something awesome, but 20% of the time he's probably going to make some dumb shit. When I'm cooking at home, I'm making some fucked up shit too, and I don't give a shit. I'm not a restaurant. Here's this perfect chicken, and here's all this awesome stuff. I'm showing people how to fucking cook. All I want is to be able to cook, fucking people to fucking cook, and that is it. Everything doesn't need to be precious. It's precious that people try. I just want people to have hope towards it. And it continues here. It said, I think cooking really builds self-esteem. It's such a nice way to do something for somebody else or for yourself. Humans are horrible to each other, but somehow food can instantly make you feel better. We're all fucking broken. Life is fucked. I'm broken as fuck. I'm mental case, but making food generally makes me happy. I'm also generally stressed. It also generally stresses me out when I'm shooting these fucking videos sometimes, and that's okay. It stresses people out when they're cooking at home. Sometimes you can't find a spoon, sometimes you can't find a bowl, and that's the stuff, the beautiful stuff, the chaos, and the where the fuck is the towel, where the fuck is this somebody at home, because nothing is perfect. And I think that's definitely true, and something that definitely lends itself to a lot of the love that people have for the Bon Appetit channel. They have the same sort of appeal, right? Because they allow you to kind of peer into, let's say, people who are just above level of like a home cook, right? People who are kind of like semi quote unquote professional, and you get to see how they struggle with recipes, how they struggle with preparation, their sort of insecurities towards making things and whatever, how they carry themselves. And I think that's really encouraged more people, I would say, just from a layman's point of view, to start doing those things at home. Because beforehand, when you used to watch those kind of, you know, what's his name? I used to watch a lot of Rick Stein shows back in the day, or Saturday Kitchen in the morning. It was very, very well edited, very well prepared. Loads of preparation went into it. Many producers. You just feel like a polished thing. It's hard to really connect with it. Or sometimes those kind of French cuisine things, like it was just way, way above any sort of level anyone can do at home, especially if you're just starting out. But having these people on screen who kind of look like you, sound like you, have maybe the same sort of interest, suddenly makes things a little bit more accessible, especially now during these times when you can't necessarily go outside to a restaurant and eat the things you want to eat. I think a lot more people, especially I've heard a lot more people baking and making bread and shit at home, right? That's because you have more time to spend at home, you have access to the YouTube and shit, you can find people that you can connect with. And the good thing about the internet as well is that you have many different people you can follow online who you can kind of see similarities in their approach or how they talk, where they're from. There's a plethora of people you're going to be able to find that you connect with there. So I thought that quote was cool. And then the other one I really liked was the quote about fixing up. What is it? So here, because it's famously known for being a bit of a hard partier, right? He used to get on it back in the day. He was come up during the time where it was quite encouraged to be like a rock star kind of chef, right? Especially the kind of independent restaurant kind of dudes that have tattoos and piercings and shit. So he went through that whole shebang and was able to kind of, because that's what you want, right? You want to be able to pull yourself out of it before life decides to go doot doot and turn your light switch off, right? That's what you want to do, because sometimes that story never ends well. So to be able to kind of realize, look himself in the mirror, I think in his case he actually didn't look himself in the mirror, it was an intervention. But you've still heard of people have interventions and nothing ever changes. So for him to have an intervention and for it to change definitely goes to speak volume to his character. And it says here, you turned from your previous hard partying lifestyle to being this industry figure with all these different projects, along with becoming a family man. Can you tell me about the time that when you decided, okay, enough's enough, I'm going to get together, I'm going to get it together? And then Matty says, yeah, I was going to lose everything. I got to the point where nobody even gave a fuck about me anymore. Like my friends, that's really what clicked. When I had my intervention, nobody was there except for 4 people. I was like, where is everybody? And they were like, nobody cares if you do this or you don't. So why the fuck do they need to be here? And I was just kind of like, okay, that's even harsher than them being here, actually. Everyone's like, it's up to you. Everyone was already done with me. I was such a mess. I'm smart enough to not to completely throw it away. When I just learned, then I just learned every day. Every day is different. Every day is literally a blessing. I just don't take advantage of things anymore. We only got a certain amount of time in a day. I'm in this position already where my year is fully booked. I know every single day for the next fucking 300 days. If I'm at that point, every single day has to matter. Every single day I need to be moving forward. Every single day I need to be well aware of what's happening and doing what I need to do to make sure that my family is taken care of. That's it. That's all I want. All I want is my kids to have a Christmas every year. I want my family not to worry about the stuff like that. It's a wild thing. I used to not do anything for a day. I would do enough drugs and alcohol and bullshit that I would sleep for a day and not give a fuck. What did that get me? Nothing. Now I'm in a position where I could, where I get what I give. I work really fucking hard. I'm very consistent. I see results. That's all that matters. So I thought that was really, really interesting, really illuminating. I think you should check it out. Interview with Matty Matheson there. I'll link in the show notes for you guys to see for yourselves. Let's move on. What else is next on here? Let's see what else we have to talk about. This actually represents how everyone kind of is a bit spelled on, isn't it? This is a video from
Corona times that.
Whoops, it's lower a bit. It says sound is a bit high. But this is from the Fighter and the Kid podcast, which I'm actually a fan of, actually. So it hurts to actually rag on them for this. But from their point, again, just understanding their point of view, 2 LA-based comedians, really funny podcast, really funny dudes in general, Brendan and Brian. But, they're fully tapped into that LA entertainment world. Their world revolves around the Comedy Store, Laugh Factory, blah-de-blah, doing podcasts, hanging around, shooting the shit, and, living that entertainment Hollywood lifestyle. So for this to be locked down, it's probably driving them up the wall. They don't have a chance to do the art that they, stuff that they've kind of devoted their entire life to. So they're always kind of erring on the side of caution when it comes to the not group thing, but what the majority of people are thinking now, where we're sort of like resigned ourselves to the fact that nothing's going to return to normal until the end of the year, optimistically, and then probably more realistically the beginning of next year. But they're more likely, they're kind of really had this kind of they're holding on to the fact that, you know, I think LA has some of the, or California has some of the lowest amount of confirmed cases, which is not really something to shout home about, because you don't know if people have been tested to a level that need to be tested to actually make a decisive conclusion. You're not sure if you're going to spike again. You know, there's so many anomalies in there, but they're holding on to that fact, and they sometimes want to push for this weird January date. So someone made a compilation that kind of looks upon some of the stuff they've said over the times that sounded a bit scary, but again, sounded a bit nuts, sorry. But it, you know, it's a different point of view, and everyone sees it differently. But it's just funny to see how they've kind of interpreted things. So let's have a view and hear what they have to say about this.
That are ending soon. Again, I'm a numbers guy.
Maybe 70% of the people are asymptomatic, but they can still pass it on. So that can be a problem, right? If you have that, a lot of old people, a lot of people are risky.
And the flu thing is a weird one, isn't it? You hear people saying that a lot, isn't it? It's no more dangerous than a flu, but not really, though, isn't it? Because we've got a vaccine for the flu. This is a new thing that's sort of like, you know, mutating and changing every single day. We still haven't figured out where the fuck it came from, right? No one's actually got we don't actually share an opinion about that, whether it's the lab in China, whether it's from a fucking bat, whether it was man-made, whether it's kind of I've heard a theory now that so far it could be a derivative of AIDS or HIV. There's so many theories out there. So to come somehow ascribe it straight away to the flu because it has flu-like symptoms is...
You would have over on hospitals.
Yeah, like the flu.
It is different. It is different. So we have to be...
And then at the bottom here, they've got the flu deaths per month are for 5.3, and then COVID so far from April only is already 22.8. I don't know. It's just, maybe it's CNN and Fox's fault because there's so much disinformation out there. No one actually believes anything, but I don't know how you can sit there with a straight face and say, you know, the flu's worse. Like, of course how could it be if something that's only started now has got double the numbers? It doesn't make any sense, does it?
Sensitive
flu
to that.
kills more, but yeah, sure.
You know,
this corona lockdown has me feeling all gay. There's this theory, right? There's a million theories out there. So these whole peaking things that notice nothing's peaking right now.
So they move the goal line, which means it's worse than expected, not better, you idiot. So this person's really going in the comments.
Keep going, okay, not this next week, and keep moving the goal line.
Most people do not have this virus in the United States.
But even if they do...
And then the text says up to 60 Americans are expected to get it within a year.
Oh, no, the odds are, most people don't. But even if you have it, it's...
The people that get...
And I give you the stats that I gave you this morning of 97% of people who do get it are fine. Yeah. The percentage how deadly it really isn't. Yeah. And then I tell you, most of
the contagion level, by the way.
Correct. That's what I'm saying.
So can I just say to everybody,
and in this graphic, for those listening, there's a graphic coming up here showing the level of contagion. And of course, the COVID-19 numbers are just skyrocketing.
Has a contagion level of between 12 and 18. What that means is that between 12 and 18 people can catch it if you're around them. Highly contagious. Smallpox killed so many people through the 20th century.
And again, I understand, you know, the optimism. I understand the skepticism because you want your industry to get back and moving. But there's no way you can watch the news and really legitimately think that it's not that big of a deal. You can't say that. I think you can't also go on the other side and say, oh, you know, your government didn't do enough, because no one has done enough, right? I don't think, bar maybe 3 countries, no one's really going to come out of this, you know, smelling like roses. Everyone sort of fumbled the ball. But to go on the other side and say, nah, not a big deal.
And before a contagion level of 3.5 to 6. Measles renders you sterile if you're a boy, usually, and led to pneumonia and all kinds of terrible things.
Horrible virus.
Smallpox was deadly in many cases and left scarring and everything else. Horrible way to die. Common cold has a contagion level of between 2 and 3. Seasonal strains of influenza are reported to have a contagion level of 0.9 to 2.1. Now,
that's the flu.
The early data on COVID-19 estimates are between 1.4 and 3.9. It's
Look
just
at the fucking numbers.
It's irresponsible.
It really is.
It's
and
irresponsible.
You're putting fear into everybody.
Yeah, and I know there are people listening right now who are like, you have no idea. No.
But I guess the only good thing you could say from this is that the people listening are probably not probably going to go get their COVID-19 information from these two, in it, right? You go to Brendan Bryan for LOLs, you go to Brendan Bryan for banter, gay jokes, who's got the biggest dick, all this sort of stuff. He's old, he's stung by bees. That's what you go for them for, right? You don't go to them for COVID-19 coronavirus talk. You shouldn't anyway, because this is wild, man. I know about being optimistic. I get that, but Jesus.
No, I do have an idea.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
I know stats, and it's pretty black and white.
Is it that much of a risk?
No.
And then the stats that are black and white are this. So flu on one side, about 65 deaths a year on people die from flu, which is still a lot in it, right? And then it's got 0.1 mortality rate, 1.2 to the 1 to 2% hospitalization rate, 178 deaths a day on average, vaccines and immunity available, and obviously permanent health damage unlikely. And then on COVID case, you've got 22.8 deaths in the last 15 days alone, 4% mortality rate, 20 to 30% hospitalization rate. And then and again, people saying, oh, it's all right if you get it, but have you actually seen videos of people that have it? It's not the most funnest experience in the world to go through something like that, right? That kind of level of pain and discomfort, especially with the knowledge that people are dropping like flies with the stuff that you've got. Like, it doesn't really fill you with confidence. And then here it's got 2,408 deaths a day as of April 15th, and no vaccines or immunity available. Permanent health damage is possible, of course, because what's to say that when you lose your sense of smell or taste, or so that some people are reporting that you don't get that back? It's not guaranteed, isn't it?
That's what I'm saying. Look at the numbers.
Yeah.
And these numbers, this isn't something me and Brian made up.
No.
These are the same numbers that any news outlet you're watching, they're spinning super negative. They're using these numbers.
Yeah. And
what's the what risk are you taking?
Yeah.
Again, I'm a numbers guy.
They killed him really on that one, innit? But yeah, that's not a really, again, what can you do? You're not really going to go to them for that kind of talk anyway, regardless anyway. But yeah, it's kind of a bit concerning to hear them say that, but I guess they're comedians. They want the industry to start back and running in. But the issue is that even if things get up and running in July, as Brendan said a few times, there's no guarantee they're going to have crowds. It's quite self-serving. It's similar to the lady in the park with her kid. You just want your thing. You just want whatever you want, right? It's quite selfish. It's not really thinking about other people. Like, do you honestly think crowds in LA will be, and again, unless, because I think a lot of people say that the comedy store is, especially during the week, there's a lot of tourists that go there, right? So if there is a lot of tourists that go to that kind of location, are they going to be willing to travel 10 hours on a flight to go to LA to go watch people do stand-up? Not really, are they? I don't know. Maybe not. Can you rely on just, the native Californians to come out? Maybe they will, because they're all bored at home. I'm not too sure. There's just no guarantee there's going to be a functioning industry there to welcome you, or audience, or whatever. You're probably better off allowing other things to open up. I'd imagine if you're trying to be optimistic, you're probably better off allowing other states. I think, as per I've heard, right, Ohio and things are going to open next week. You're probably letting off that thing happen, having a couple of weeks go well with them, so that once you guys open, people will have some kind of reference, so that they can then make a calculated risk. But to just hope that it kind of starts up as soon as possible, so you can go back to telling dick jokes on stage, is a little bit short-sighted. But who knows? Maybe it works out for them. Maybe they know something we don't. And it moves on here. What's this news here? From RA. Is it about Dekmantel? Yeah, so it's Netherlands. So this is going to be, we'll just tie it in together actually. So Dekmantel's been cancelled too. If that wasn't a surprise really, I guess. But I guess with the Dutch, I think everything is sort of interlinked. The Dutch Eredivisie decided to kind of cancel or void the season because they're not going to be able to restart before September, which then had a kind of ripple effect in other industries too, with events planned. So with Dekmantel being, sometime in August, they're all going to cancel it because there's no way they could do it before September at all. But they've confirmed that they're going to postpone until next year with the same lineup, same date, which is it's all right with them, because by August everything should be okay by then next year. And it says here, Dekmantel postponed Festival to 2021 with the same lineup. The next Dekmantel Festival will not take place in 2021. The Amsterdam Events 8th edition was pushed back to August 4th to 8th, 2021. The festival announced today. It was originally supposed to go on from July to the August, or July 29th to 2nd of August. The official confirmation of Dekmantel's 2020 postponement comes 2 days after the Dutch government extended the ban on public events from June the 1st to August 31st due to the corona pandemic. So again, I'm assuming Amsterdam's doing a far better job than we are here in the UK. So I don't know how they think we're going to do football and we're going to get things up and running by the fucking July if those guys already postponing until August. It just doesn't make any sense. In addition to, the article continues, in addition to remaining at the same venue, Amsterdam boss Dekmantel's 2020 lineup featuring the likes of Theo Parrish, Lorraine James and Venetian Snares will also carry over to 2021 festival. It says here, losing Dekmantel Festival this summer does have a massive impact on our small team, as well as other wider network of people we work with all year round, musicians, artists, producers, partners, and countless freelancers. The statement reads, as such, we would like to take this opportunity to ask you to continue showing empathy for and actively supporting our favourite artists, labels, venues, and all other initiatives in the creative sector wherever you can. We need each other more than ever at the time of unprecedented turbulence. The Dekmantel team's May event, Lenti Cabinet, has been cancelled and replaced with a one-day festival in September, which is pretty cool, called Zuma Cabinet with a similar lineup. I'd imagine, again, probably native people. I think the people within your country are going to need to go, but that's the problem is that most festivals are I don't know, from my experience, they're usually populated by people that are from abroad, usually, I'd imagine, right? Especially the bigger ones. So there's no guarantee. Those people, they're more unlikely to go because of maybe travel restrictions, but maybe people that live in your country might be willing to go. That's probably it. And again, you know, is it just worth the squeeze throwing that kind of event on? The licenses, the insurance, the cost, I don't know. It continues here. It says there's no word yet of whether the Croatian Festival Dekmantel selectors will also be postponed and cancelled. That's planned for August 27th to the 31st. So that's a statement they have there. They all kind of read the same really in a wider network of people, but it's a good thing that they've kind of announced it early. I think a lot of the kind of negative replies on social about festivals not giving refunds is basically due to ambiguity, right? I think some of the we're all aware that a lot of these places that organize these events, most likely than not, they use the money they get from pre-orders and from pre-sales to fund the event that they're putting on any given year, right? They don't really have any means of like making money throughout the year. They only make the money when they put the event on and when the lineups are confirmed, which is why lineups are such a big deal with festivals, because they're hoping if they secure a big act, that's going to then translate to ticket sales. So I think consumers are savvy enough to realize that usually a lot of these festivals, by the time they've done, you know, most of the pre-sale, they've got most of the tickets out of the way, that money's already gone into paying people, right? Keeping the thing running, securing a deposit, getting equipment sorted. Like we know that's the case. So we're aware that those people probably don't have our money in their account to refund us. So we're all right to get a refund 24 days later, but we just want to know where we stand. So I think when some of these festivals just ignore their customers and just don't want to reply because they're afraid of letting people know they don't have the money, that's when people start to get angry and skeptical. I think we're all aware they don't have the money. Just give people the heads up ahead of time so that people can make the adjustments. And more likely than not, especially when it comes to festivals and stuff, no one's really counting on getting that money back usually. You're kind of making especially unless maybe you get buyer's protection or something, you're sort of making a calculated risk, because there's also a risk that your friends could end up flaking and you could have sold it on. How many times have people booked a ticket with their friends in mind and then their friends have flaked and then you just had a dead ticket in your hand that you couldn't give away and then just give away for free at the end of it because you just want someone else to enjoy it? Happens more often than not, I'd assume. So it's not as if like people are desperately trying to get their money back because they have nothing left, right? Especially in the run up to a festival, you've probably got a couple of paychecks you're still sitting on, whatever. You've got maybe some savings you have, a little kind of pot that you saved for the actual festival itself. So you just need some transparency. So good on Dekmantel for being honest and just being upfront and saying how as it is. And I'm sure some people will be willing to donate the cost of their ticket to the team to make sure they support them for the next festival. And I'm sure some people will maybe do a partial donation. But when you're just upfront about it already now in April, you're letting people know, hey, we're not going to put this thing on. It's not going to happen. We're not pushing it. We're not postponing it to another day later in the year. It's going to be next year. If you want to keep your ticket for the next event, you can. If not, it is what it is. I think that's much better as opposed to just ignoring everybody and not giving anybody any insight what's going on. And then secondly, we have the clarification that all the events are going to be banned until the end of the month. So it says here, Netherlands extends public events ban until August 31st, and its subtext is one of my employees accidentally ticked the pandemic box on the insurance form. DGTL tells New York Times we're getting roughly 70% of. Jesus, that's amazing. So this story: the Netherlands have extended the ban on public events due to the coronavirus pandemic until the August 31st. And we still haven't got clarification on Notting Hill Carnival either. People, no one said nothing about that, but if they think that's going to happen, they're in for a big surprise. It says Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte announced that date change in the press conference on Tuesday. The New York Times reports the ban was previously set to be June the 1st and March 24th. The extension follows a suit with other European countries like Germany and Denmark, which also has banned large-scale events through to August 31st. So if the Bundesliga is back by May 9th and Germany are the ones going off, if you're really desperate, again, I wouldn't advise it. I'd think, you should give it some time, things to settle down. But if you're really desperate to go out, your best bet is going to be Holland, as those countries have stated, right? Holland, Germany, Netherlands, Germany, and Denmark are going to be your best bets if you really want to go traveling and go, partying and stuff. But I wouldn't advise it. I'd say just give it some time before things settle down. But those are the three countries that are doing relatively well. It continues here. Tom Velderhuis, co-founder of Appinkoi Events, which runs DGTL, told the New York Times a financial toll cancelling the Amsterdam Festival over the Easter weekend could have taken it if it weren't for an administrative accident. Wow. He said, when we renewed our insurance policy, one of my employees sort of accidentally ticked the pandemic box on the insurance form. That's amazing. And now we're getting 70% of our 2.3 million investment back. Otherwise, it would have been quite a blow. That's amazing. I hope that person who ticked the box gets a nice, gift and not a glass of wine. Give them a nice cash reward, because that's amazing, the amount of money they've saved there. The New York Times also spoke to Dutch DJ and producer Joris Vorm, who says, I'm pretty sure I won't be doing any gigs this year. See, that's what I'm saying. And this is a big dude, right? Let's look at his profile and see how many gigs he played last year. This is a big person saying he's pretty sure he's not going to play again this year. And let's see his events. Fuck me. Look at all these events that have been cancelled. But let's go in these events tab on RA. Scroll down. Yeah, look at all the stuff that he had planned. August, September. Let's go to I don't know. Let's go to March. Or let's go to January and see. January. See how many he played in January. A couple there. 3 events there, maybe what's that, 6 events there across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different countries, right? So this is a touring person who's saying, I'm not going to be playing again for the whole entire year. So some of these people on social who are like, oh, we're going to party again in July, they're absolutely smoking crack. There's no way that's happening. Again, this is a properly established guy in the scene, right, who's saying this. Mamma mia. He says, I'm not going to play again. Number 1, I fly around the world. Number 2, I play in the front of tens of thousands of people, of course. So unless there's a miracle, I don't think these two things will be possible anyway this year, perhaps not next year. Earlier this month, experts and officials in America said it's unlikely large public events, or concerts or sports or conferences will return before autumn 2021. So again, big up to them for sorting that out anyway, man. I think that's a good deal. So end of the year for that one. Let's move on, and then I think to finish, I wanted to show you this. So I think in course of desperate times, and also kind of answering Mark Andreessen's post that was on the A16Z webpage. I think it's this one. Let's see if I can get it up on there. Build A1. It's time to build post that was posted by Mark Andreessen that picked up a lot of steam over the weekend. It's a really inspiring post that basically it's basically a call to action, right? Instead of people sitting down and critiquing and getting their head in the bother, it's time that we kind of look at all the mistakes that our governments have done over this pandemic, and things that happened beforehand, and find out if there's a way that we can build things in our own little communities and our own little scenes to further push humanity forward, right? Instead of kind of going and making another Angry Birds app, what can you be doing at a local level to get people together, maybe with a consortium, a collective of different sort of housing projects, whatever you are, whatever medium you work in, architecture, designer, community activist, there's things that we could do in our own sphere of interest, in our own sphere of abilities, that we should be pushing ourselves to do. And in an effort to kind of answer that call, I decided to think about some of the solutions that could be done, especially with a lot of these events not happening, a lot of the bigger events not happening. So if we are to believe that a lot of these big events, or clubs especially, won't be open until the end of the year, end of the year, probably beginning of the year, then most likely than not, we're going to need a lot of the young, or not young, let's forget age, we're going to need a lot of the independent DIY, scrappy startups and, you know, event organizers, promoters to sort of fill that void for people who want to have hedonistic experiences and go out and party and have a good time, right? Especially if there's a vaccine around, people don't mind taking a risk. Cool. If you don't mind taking a risk, we need to have an option there. And I think the option will be to return to resident DJ lineups, where you essentially have club nights going on in these kind of quote unquote illegal DIY spaces. Maybe, you know, I think I've got literally written here, right? Club night of the future on here on a bit of paper that I kind of spec'd out here, right? So you've got capacity about 50 to 150 people. So it could be anywhere from like a kind of reappropriated coffee shop, a little art gallery somewhere, a warehouse, a location. It could be anywhere that you are kind of residing. Line up again. I'd kind of push for renaissance. I'd kind of push for encouraging local people to play, so that you have the ability to also tap into their community base, their following. And there's also the ability to kind of get more people to play during any given event, and then kind of split the cost amongst them, because mostly, I know from my experience coming up and DJing, you don't really care about what you get paid. You're more interested about playing in front of a captive audience, right? You want to play in front of people that actually give a shit about the music you're playing, that are there for what, you know, for the right reasons, blah 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 blah. So if you're able to spread the cost amongst 6 people as opposed to booking 1 mega or 2 mega stars, it makes that better. Then you can invest in other things, production cost, bar, I don't know, maybe getting some legit security down, like loads of cool things like that will go really well. And of course the cost more internally would then kind of be molded around the idea of making it free, or having like a nominal fee between 5 to 10 euros or pounds. And I think that is going to be probably the way forward. If we do want to return to that kind of realm, we need to be able to have that kind of option available to us. Because I think if you're waiting for Fabric or the places to open, you're going to be waiting a long, long time, because those places have, you know, mountains of paper they have to make sure they get signed off from. You know, they're liable for a lot more than just people coming through the door that want to, you know, take bumps in the toilet. They've got staff they need to worry about as well. So more likely than not, we're gonna need, you know, DIY scrappy promoters to fill that void and kind of pop up little, you know, spaces here and there that are semi-legal, semi-illegal, you know, wink wink, nudge nudge, and that will hopefully kind of tie people down. Or of course you could always be more willing to wait, but I think usually, especially in down times when people are a bit uncertain and they're not afraid of their futures and shit, they need a little bit of a release. And I think if you're able to give them that release in that way, it'll make life a little bit more worth living. So there is a lot of responsibility in that effect as well, but I know it's something I want to do going forward. I think even if there is no void filled with these kind of spaces, I will look into doing it myself and probably hiring out a space and getting something out, and using the opportunity to because a lot of people, when they put on nights, they do it to kind of promote themselves so you can get more gigs. But I really want to kind of go back to the idea of kind of providing a platform for people who aren't necessarily that well known, and kind of being able to be part of their story, part of their origin story, so that 5-10 years down the line, when they become a big headlining act, they can kind of quote, you know, the little things that I did for them, or the platform that I provided, or somebody else provided for them along their journey that helped. And then I think those kind of stories will inevitably help to kind of change the culture of also, and not just, you know, it's just so frustrating for me personally, you know, going out to club nights and, you know, all these areas, and you're just seeing the same people that you see when you go to Berlin, when you go to these other countries in Europe, playing in the same venues that you are here, all these big headline acts. You're not necessarily seeing the people that are local, that intrinsically tied to that local scene. That's what you want to see. You want to get a feel for what those people actually listen to day in, day out, and more likely than not, it's not going to be these massive names that we know who are always in the top 20 or 30 list of voted people. So that's something that I kind of proposed there in my kind of plan, in my little black book that I'm writing. So yeah, hopefully that happens. Who knows? Anyway, that's the Agostinho Zinga Show episode number 305. Thanks so much for tuning in. As per usual, if you first time listening, smash that like, hit subscribe, leave me a comment. If you're watching on the YouTube, and if you're listening via the podcast app, of course, leave me a 5-star review and share it with your friends. You can click the link in the description to find out more regarding myself. Go to my website, follow me on social, all that good stuff. But until then, take care, be safe, and see ya later.